What is up, guys? This is Chris Navarrete.
And my name is Madiha Haidari.
And this is
Back in the Class Podcast. Welcome to our very first episode of this podcast where we today have with us Adla Gonzalez.
Now let's have Adla tell us a few things about herself.
I'm a senior at Pittman High School. Or at least the three of us here are.
Do you have any hobbies or interests in Pittman that you're related in like extracurriculars that you're in?
I'm in so many clubs right now. I could give you all a list. FBLA, I'm an officer for their treasurer. Pass Club, which is a very great club. And just like so many other clubs, Save Club, just like whatever clubs I go to from time to time,
Love that. So today's episode is about college preparation and classes to take in high school. As Chris, myself, and Adla, we're all seniors. This episode is going to be dedicated to that. So, Chris, do you want to start us off with your process and college apps and things of that sort?
Yeah, so I definitely know, universally, we are kind of nervous. I'm super nervous, right? I'm applying to all these schools, Ivy Leagues, UC, CSUs, right? I definitely do believe we're blessed to be in California because of how great, where we're located, right?
Yes.
So immediately starting off, I just finished my QuestBridge application. The great thing about QuestBridge is, which if you guys don't know, it's one of the places you can apply through to different colleges. And the way it works is basically you submit your application, right? You get your letters of recs, you have your transcripts, all these things, right? And then you select a couple colleges you would be interested in, right? So for me, I'm putting down UPenn, I'm putting down Princeton, and that's about it. The great thing about this is if you do get selected, it's tuition paid, you get all these scholarships, right? The nerve-wracking thing is, let's say I get accepted into Yale and I actually wanted to go to UPenn, I automatically have to go to UPenn, so I can't back out. As far as other applications, there's, of course, the Common App. There's the UC applications are a separate thing. The CSU applications are a different website. And then a lot of colleges do their own little thing where it's you apply to the college personally, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely scared. Why don't we just go over, what colleges we're applying to first off?
I like that. Well, I do want to comment on the QuestBridge because I myself actually just submitted my application last night, and I've been working on it for weeks on end, and the essay was very tough for some reason, even though the essay prompt for QuestBridge is to write about personal things that happened that shaped you to who you are. It's one of those generic ones. And yeah, it was a very tough one. I was struggling with the word count. We have an 800 word count limit, and I kept going over to 900 and 1,000. So right. That was rough. But yeah.
And then you have all these different sides of you, right? You're oh, how have I shaped since my freshman year? Maybe I joined a sport, maybe I was in a band, right? And you have so many of these great things you want to focus on, and then I think a lot of kids get stuck on well, what do the college admission counselors want to see, right?
Right.
And I think the misconception with that is it's not what they want to see, it's who do you think you are, right? What best describes who you are. Exactly.
So when it comes to college applications, and it comes to any kind of applications for that matter, whether it's a job or internship, which I know I've done, I'm not sure if you guys have, but when it comes to that, you want to be yourself. It's a super cliche thing to say that be yourself, but genuinely you want to be yourself, because if you try to fabricate a person to show the college admissions committee, they can see right through that because, myriad of students do that, and so it's very obvious to them because they're experienced individuals who go through this kind of processes. So that's my advice to you guys is be yourself, quite literally. Work on your essay. That's the most important part of admissions is your essay. Adla, what do you have to say about that?
For college admissions, see, what differs from me and our lovely producers right here, my GPA is probably not on par with theirs. I would not say that I'm a bad student or anything of the sort. However, I feel my goals are not as high up as theirs are due to my own proficiency with academics and stuff like that.
That's perfectly fine. That's great, right? Like you said, you're in all these great clubs. You have so much more to tell.
Yeah, and like I love my extracurriculars both for like as me as a person and also for like what might make me look better for like colleges in general. What I'm personally looking into is either taking my own gap year and saving up a bunch of money so I can pay for that stuff, or at least like expenses and stuff. You guys, we live in California. We know how expensive like rent is and stuff like that. So that's not to be understated at all. So I'm also looking into going into MJC and then likely transferring out of that because the rates are better for me.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and of course, that's a misconception that a lot of students have, is that if you don't, after high school, go to a four-year college, that is immediately you got a label, like you're a failure. That's not true at all. JC, what it does is great to do your general education there, and it's like financially super efficient, right? That's what I've heard, and I myself had that misconception coming into the high school life. And of course, being an immigrant, I had no idea what to do with all this information. And then we have our college and career counselors and our regular counselors that are super great with this information. So that's one of the resources that you have to utilize. You have to go to them and speak with them. Chris, do you want to tell us a bit about how you utilize Miss McBay and everyone in the Career Center?
Yeah, most definitely. So if you guys don't know this about me already, I'm going to tell you right now. I am one of the most extreme worrywarts of all time. I have super bad anxiety. So beginning the process, I think the first thing I did was go up to my counselor. Shout out to Mr. Sanchez. And he kind of just calmed me down because I think everyone worries. One of the biggest things I was worried about was definitely college tuition. Yeah, so I was like, all these things are going through your head, right? Your location, how much money are you going to spend, right? And so the way Mr. Sanchez really helped me was break it down into, you need to have at least 3 categories to put your schools in. So REACH schools would be all these super, elite universities, right? So Berkeley, Stanford, Harvard, right? So I kind of have my own list there. Then he was like, okay, now calm down. They might have a 4% acceptance rate, but guess what? You're still a great person, right? So then he broke it into, okay, so what are these 50%, right, acceptance rates? So I'm looking at, Fresno, I'm looking at Merced, right? And these are definitely valuable options, right? And then he even consoled me even more, and he said, there's also MJC, and it's basically automatic admission. So I immediately just, calmed down, right? I think what Medea is trying to say is there are individuals at your school, on campus, even if it's just a teacher, who have, gotten the college experience, they've gotten their degrees, and there's definitely people you can go to. Someone Medea did mention is Mrs. McBay. She happens to be our school counselor, and Mrs. McBay is fantastic. She's phenomenal. Recently, she's been helping me with scholarships, right? So like I said, one of my biggest things was how do I pay for college? There's actually a lot out there, just depending on who you are. I know let's say I play an instrument. I don't personally, I wish I did. If you play an instrument, maybe there's someone looking to give out $500, and all you have to do is submit an essay why you like playing the trombone, right? Or maybe there's a scholarship for being Hispanic or African American, right? There's just a lot of opportunities out there, and just finding, people on campus, people that are actually willing to help is definitely going to help you in the long end.
Yeah, and Ms. McBay, obviously she's helped us with the Ivy League project is one of the other things that we have available for students who are willing to, go to that workshop on Saturdays and learn and hone their soft skills, is what they help us with. And so Ms. McBay, Maureen, the district, they all help us, and they're available for students as resources. So for sure, use that. That's one of the biggest recommendations. Adla, do you want to speak a little bit on your, college, as in high school classes you've taken, things of that sort, that's helping you go into the path of college?
I could definitely talk a lot about that. See, when I first entered high school, I had really bad anxiety, and I feel like that's applied to everyone. Mine was it influenced me a lot, and also my own self-image. So I took I didn't take any AP classes until this year, and I really wish I had started on that far earlier. One, under the president, is just you could just take it, realize you don't like it, and then drop it. So I feel like that's like really reassuring. And also it's just like the credits that it can be giving you,
Yes.
you know, for college and stuff like that will definitely help you get boosted ahead. Some schools, ours did previous years, offer like free AP testing. So that's definitely a resource you want to like both look into and utilize if you can. But also there's no shame in not taking it if that's not like your thing. But I had wished I had considered it more as an option to myself for like my own path and such.
So on the subject of tests, since we're in California, SATs, ACTs, those are optional.
Yes.
However, I am going to touch on it just briefly. If you're a sophomore, junior, I definitely recommend taking it. And even if you are not super confident in yourself, I've taken the SAT twice. My LATO score being like 1380.
Wow.
Okay,
1380.
Hold on, that's not a flex. You know that's not a flex.
That's that's good. That's a good
if you're
score.
not at like 1500. Okay, look. Anyway,
That's a good score.
the SAT is a standardized test used to you can use it for scholarships. You can use it for a lot of colleges, private universities look into it, right? But anyway, what I was gonna say was, even if you're not super confident in like where you are academically, or maybe you're not the greatest at tests, I would take it regardless, just because I think it's a great way to examine who you are and like what kind of test taking skills you can take, right? Where are you at in your learning? I'm going to differentiate the differences between the ACT and the SAT. The SAT are going to be less questions, definitely, but they're going to be longer. They're going to require you to think more. So if you're into introspection, definitely take the SAT. Well, I guess not like introspection like for yourself, but like just if you're really into context, right? As far as the ACT, I personally prefer that one just because it's faster paced, it's simpler problems. I know, Mediha, you did end up taking the SAT, right? Maybe you could talk a little bit about it.
I did end up taking the SATs. I took it last summer. So summer of senior year is when I took my first SATs. So like I said, I remarked earlier that his score is incredible. That's because I myself got an 1140 on mine, and that's not the best score. That's barely above average. That is not what you want to submit. So for personally for me right now, I'm not planning on submitting my SAT scores to any of my applications or to any schools, because I don't have another scheduled date for an SAT that I can take again due to the schedule. So I'm just not gonna do that. But SATs are something that that apparently are coming back to some schools in 2026. So for our batch, that's not something most people would worry about. But for the future students who are willing to go that extra mile, you might want to think about doing the SATs. And of course, College Board has great resources for you available to practice. They have lots of practice SATs for you to just do the night before, the week before, and prepare you for the day of. Earlier, Adla mentioned the AP classes and things of that sort that our school offers. Another thing that our school offers that is an incredible opportunity, the dual enrollment classes that we have. Again, Mrs. McBain, the Career Center, she is tremendous with all of this stuff, giving out to students, letting us know that these things are available. I know they have 0-period classes. For this, Stanislaus does some. I know right now I think they're doing sociology. Next semester is anthropology. So they have all kinds of classes. You guys want to speak a little bit on the role of dual enrollment and how that helps students as far as the college goes?
I'll let you take it away.
Okay, I actually have some experience with this stuff. So
love that.
There are the ones I did not take or dual enroll classmates over the summer, which is what I know so many people have taken them. Really good resource. I just wanted my summer to myself. I'll admit to that. I'm a little lazy, guys. But you know what I've taken this year and last year, I'm taking currently our appreciation dual enrollment class, which is a gen ed class that you would end up taking in college anyway. And also last year I took a basic drawing class. Both of those were dual enrollment classes for MJC. And honestly, it was not as hard as I thought it was. I was here thinking, I was so intimidated. I was like, no, college classes. And then I was like, oh wait, this isn't too bad. Like I probably could have done better if I had like more ambition, but I think ultimately it should not be as intimidating as it is for some people such as myself. And also on behalf of the CSU Stanislaus College classes, those things were early. I took one for a bit and then I gave up. So, but don't be like me. No shame in it. Drop it if you need to. I didn't do that. So just don't be like me.
And it's not for everyone, too. I mean, early
Definitely
morning,
not.
sometimes it's just your
7
brain doesn't
a.m.
function, you know? It's
I was
understandable.
gonna say, definitely, I think what Adla's meaning to say is, just try to find yourself. Adla realized she's not a morning person.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's perfectly fine. I'm
Yeah.
not either, right?
Yeah.
So even if you're not able to succeed in a class, dual enrollment, right, or just regardless, regular high school classes, definitely just take. I think this is going to be a big thing in college too. If you're not really sure about what major you want to be in, what you're interested in, just take a bunch of things and then find what you're into, right? I am going to touch a little bit on dual enrollment. So I've taken a bunch of classes since like my freshman year. So if there's any freshmen out there, I guess like summer of 8th grade year, any incoming freshmen, right, freshmen, sophomores, definitely take it. I don't think a lot of people realize how much effort an AP class is until they get into it, right?
Yeah.
And then you take a college class at like MJC and you're like, bro, what?
Yeah.
It's so much more chill. It's calm, right? And what I have I think I have almost like 60 credits. I almost have my degree for transfer. And that's just literally me taking 2 classes every summer. Or no, it was like 3 classes, but. And the other thing to look forward to is if you're a gunner, like some of us, you take AP classes and then you take the dual enrollment, you're actually able to combine the credits. So I think that's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I might have like 30 regular MJC credits, and then with my AP scores, I got it like added on. So if you're a gunner, or even if you're not a gunner, I recommend taking MJC classes regardless. They're just so much easier. And if you take them during the summer, you don't have to worry about too much.
Exactly. And if you take them during your high school life, summer, semester-wise, all that stuff, you can actually go into college as a junior. So you can get your things, under your belt, get them done, and you just go in. And honestly, most of us have spoken about, Cal is expensive. It's just expensive. That's period, And so it's, having these kind of opportunities. I know a lot of students, like Chris and myself included, we're worried about the tuition. We're worried about the fees of, going into college. And whatever college that may be, the fees, are, they're expensive. The thing is, you can take initiative and you can take these classes and help yourself financially and time-wise, pace yourself out. So you take all this stuff now, you finish them later, and then you go into college as a junior, and you can graduate early. That it helps you in the long run. And I hadn't realized the importance of dual enrollment classes that are offered on our campus until it's too late. I'm already applying to colleges, and I haven't done any MJC courses at all, but if someone I know has done multiple, and by the time they graduate, they'll have enough credits under their belt where they can enter college as a junior. And that is a phenomenal thing and a phenomenal opportunity that students are given. So might as well make use of that. And again, like we mentioned, there's a lot of things that you can do. And I know college can be stressful, especially the application process. There's just a lot of things you can do to help you prepare for that. And you don't want to come out, as seniors and then suddenly you're like, oh, college is a thing. You want to, as a freshman, as a sophomore, you might want to have that in the back burner, thinking about it a bit. You don't want to just completely be like YOLO, I'll just think about it later. You can't do that. Kicking the can down the road, as one of my teachers says. You can't do that. And so the biggest advice we have for you, or I have for you, is to just always think about it. Have that in the back of your head. You can't just come into it one day and be like, I'll do it senior year. Don't do that. Your future self will hate you. It's not a good idea. Generally, it's really not. So you want to have you be a little prepared. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the things that help us most throughout high school, just not classes included, that helped you prepare. Like things that you, as we over here, we have done that have prepared us into going to college. So we're not as anxious or as scared or as unknown when it comes to college. Do you have anything like that in school that you did that personally prepared you for that?
For the application process?
For the application process and just college, the transition from high school to college, was some things that made it easier for you. What would those things be?
I feel like what would be really important to have, and I feel like this is not as academically affiliated, but also just as important, is having a good network and system of people around you.
Yes.
Because I know you the other day, you were like, hey, read my essay. So I feel like if you have people who are able to just help you with things like that, it also helps your own mindset and helps you transition into just thinking more about the future. It puts it more into perspective for yourself. It makes college feel like more of a real potential, I would assume.
Love that. Chris, do you have anything to add on?
Definitely, I would take advantage of just finding your passion, finding something you love. I tell this to a lot of kids, my friends who are, they're applying to applications right now too, to even like underclassmen, kind of just find something you love, right? And then just stick with it. And then, you start off as a freshman, you're like, I really liked Mr. Hauk's biology class, right? And you're like, okay, well, maybe I can go somewhere with this. So you join the science club, and you're like, oh, we help out with Stanislaus on the weekends, right? I get volunteer hours. I get to help my community. That's fantastic, right? And then you're like, well, maybe I want to take this class, right? So now you're taking honors chemistry. And it's like biology, but it's kind of different. But it's still along the science path, right? And now you're like, oh, I love these classes. What else can I do, right?
Yeah.
So you start expanding out. You start branching out. And now you're like in physics or in environmental science, right? Maybe you're like, oh, maybe I like the pre-med path, right? And you realize that through your volunteer hours, through these science classes, the clubs, right, you found something you actually loved, something you enjoy, right? Compared to a kid who is going into his freshman year of college, his sophomore year of college, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so lost, right?
That's probably the worst thing you can do is go unprepared. However, there are a lot of people who know what they want to do, and then they go to college and realize that's not their path, and that's also okay. But again, that goes right back to the roots of you want to make sure that you have done your research and you don't leave everything up to the last minute. Procrastination is the worst thing a student can do, especially in a senior year, because you have your classes you have to handle, you have application processes you have to handle. At the same time, a lot of people will be doing scholarship things as well. So you have a lot of things to juggle at the same time, and you just want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Now, for me personally, what helped what helped me prepare for college, like I'm not like me not being scared into going like that transitioning, would be first of all my club, Civic Leaders of America. It has tremendously helped me in every aspect of when it comes to just the adult life in itself. Like when it comes to public speaking, when it comes to bringing up a problem, finding a solution, working with peers, all of that sort. That club in itself, like literally, it has all of that. It may sound like it's just a debate club, but the opportunities that you get in the club itself, they help you. Over the summer, I've done internships, I've done like college classes at Stanford I went to, and those things they sound fun, like, oh, I went to Stanford to study, but it's really about the fact that you were able to go network with those people, work with those with the professors, get work done, and understand what it's like, the college life, the process of waking up in the morning, you have your class like 10 minutes away, like a couple miles away, and how you want to pace your time, all that stuff. So it really gave me the reality check of what college life looks like, what dorm life looks like, what it's like to network with your classmates and your bunkmate and things of that sort. So for me, it was definitely all my clubs that you want to make sure you choose what clubs you go to, and you don't want to be just take everything and be like, oh, I'll work with this. You have to make sure to realize which one works for you personally, because everyone's different, and not everything works for everyone. So we're bringing our episode to a close now. We've had some great advice from our host and our lovely guest. Now we're just going to do a quick like personal advice to you guys, and we're going to finish off our episode. Chris, you want to start us off with an advice for our audience?
I'm just going to circle back to what I already said. At the end of the day, you find something you love freshman year, right? You branch out. At the end of the day, you get to senior year and you realize I have all this under my belt, right? I've been on all these clubs, right, that I actually love. I volunteer with my community. I love doing that, right? I've taken these classes. And at the end of the day, even if you're not getting into the most prestigious university, if you're stressed out about, what am I going to do after high school, just be proud that, you did something you love. You spent 4 years doing something that, made you happy. I know that definitely reflects me, and at least I'll be content after this.
Love that. Adla, do you have an advice for our audience?
Learn what you can and want to do. That's
a one-liner. I love that. That's so, there you go. As for me, like I've said it before too, my advice for you guys, whoever's watching, is find your own pace. find your people. Like, that is the biggest thing. You cannot survive rigorous work, classes. It could be anything, but you cannot survive it without proper support, without proper guidance. So find your people, find your pace. Just know what is good for you, because no one, literally, like, it's a cliche, but it's true, no one knows you better than yourself. So you cannot rely on the counselors to tell you what is good for you. They can help you get there, but you have to put in the work. So my advice to you is find yourself, find your pace.
W facts, Medina.
So that brings us to an end of our very first episode of the Back of the Class podcast. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We will see you next month.
Thank you, guys. Guys, welcome back to the Back of the Class. All right.
Don't say welcome back because it's the first.
Yeah, that's my bad. All right, guys, welcome back. This is Chris. Not
I just said don't say welcome back.
welcome.
All right, this is Back of the Class podcast, episode 1, take 2.
Y'all can start whenever.
That's okay. Just keep going.